Welcome everyone to a very special edition of Spoiler Warning featuring myself, Tom Colohue. The news we will be discussing today, an exclusive update as regards FTR, Tony Khan, Triple H and all of that jazz. I was at the show, which is making headlines from FTR tonight, so we shall be getting more information on that. We have a discussion about Daniel Cormier, the presence of Logan Paul and potential arrival of Jake Paul in the WWE, a new era of celebrities taking over the WWE. We have a slight update on Sasha and Naomi and the current situation with them, what they are discussing, what they are negotiating and what they want before their return. A little something on Brock's return and his time with Roman, something on the card for Extreme Rules, and then also based on the discussion that I've just said with the New Japan show that I was at this weekend, an NXT UK star who is in attendance. I haven't advertised this one, but this is something that some people find interesting, some people may not, but that's an exclusive that once again you ain't going to be hearing anywhere else. So welcome everyone. I will be starting with the FTR news. I know it's not considered the headline news with the title involved, but that will be where I'm starting. But I want to say a quick thanks and a greetings to everyone jumping in the chat. Simon already saying hi, asking for an update on Soraya. We'll talk about that after we've discussed this. Daz jumping in, asking about Goldberg. He's not returning. Traffic says, how was your New Japan show? Was that the one where FTR told Tony Khan to book them? Yes, it was. And it was fantastic. Amazing stuff. And I finally own a Bullet Club shirt. Good times. Jermaine says, hi Tom. Hope you had an awesome weekend. Can't wait to get the wrestling news from you. And it is a whole lot of wrestling news indeed. Some of these pieces of wrestling news I hope people are planning to clip and spread because there is quite a lot of it. Jermaine says, I hope Tony Khan realises that FTR will go back to WWE because Triple H is in charge now if Tony Khan doesn't book them and book them properly. More on that shortly. The rumours of AEW ticket sales and viewership down. I'd imagine that was going to be followed up by true. Yes, those rumours are true. Raymond says, hello Tom and everyone. Hello Raymond. How's life? Very, very good. Thank you. Spider-Boss says, Sasha and Naomi news are good. Right. Facts are not essentially good or bad. Facts are simply factual. A lot of people get really annoyed at whether something is good or bad, and that is a reaction to the news, but the news itself is not good or bad. Also asking for an update on Charlotte's return soon. Once again, they are still sort of redesigning the character. Spider-Boss asking about FTR being on Dynamite. More on that very shortly. Turnbuckle, welcome mate, how you doing? I've been meaning to reach out. I do apologise, I've been a bit busy. I do intend to still, but welcome mate. Richard says hello Tom and all, welcome Richard. Connor says hey Tom, hope your trip to London was good. It was absolutely amazing, thank you. Venom echoes the same, says hi Tom, happy to see you. How was your trip? There was some great wrestling. I got to catch up with a few friends and just have a great time. Stuart says evening Tom, welcome Stuart. And Jaden is here as well, says do you have any Sasha news? I've just laid out the news. Sasha Banks' name was mentioned. Girl says hey Tom and chat, hope everyone is doing well, hope and glad you had a good time at Royal Quest 2. It was a hell of a show. Spider-Boss, more on Sasha and Naomi shortly. Connor says Liv's tweets recently seem to present a descent into insanity, and I love that, not gonna lie. I may have already mentioned certain additional heel characteristics with Liv Morgan. Noob says hello Tom, how's your first time seeing New Japan Royal Quest over the weekend? Who said it was my first time mate? Who said it was my first time? Ed says hey everyone, hello Ed. Timothy says hello everyone, hello Timothy. King's Andy is asking about Sasha and Naomi. We'll be there shortly. That is a second piece of news that we have here. Connor says don't forget to like everyone, which gives me an immediate reminder to say please remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We have 3 more months to reach our goal of 2,000 subscribers by year's end. We're currently sitting at 1665, so the challenge is just over 100 per month. I think we can do it, but I'll need all of your help to do it. So please clip news, spread it on social media, advertise the announcement tweet, and be sure to hit that like button. Joey says, hey Tom, did you hear about AEW shows closing down in South America and Mexico? Not as of yet, haven't looked into it as deep as I would like to. Spider-Boss says, Charlotte told in a preview show for Extreme Rules she wants to face Bianca. She does, that's the fact. Will do mate, will do. It's been a while. Razal says, said on Twitter that Bianca versus Charlotte would be a cool WrestleMania match. People hardcore hating on Charlotte saying she sucks. Isn't a good wrestler. It's crazy. Yeah, people just sort of make stuff up when it comes to Charlotte. Anyone who says she's a bad wrestler is just absolutely lying to themselves. Venom says, when do you think Bayley turns babyface? Well, she is babyface right now. Turning babyface, I don't see that happening for a long time. Timothy, glad to hear you're excited for the news. And Tommy B says, can't wait for Extreme Rules. It's a great card. It really is, and I'm really hyped for it. Let's get to our first piece of news, which is as regards FTR. If you're planning to clip and share, now is the time to hit that button. I was at New Japan's Royal Quest 2 show, which took place in London over this weekend. FTR featured in 2 matches, one in which they were a tag team against the United Empire. They were also on the side of Ricky Knight Jr. at that point, and I do just briefly want to send my condolences to him and his family. He found out the news about an hour before he wrestled a match for New Japan, so well done for being able to do that, and my thoughts definitely with you at this time. I hope you're okay. As regards FTR, after the first show, so when their main event match against the Aussie Open had just finished, they grabbed the microphone. In this instance, it was Dax, who basically laid down a gauntlet to Tony Khan to say, we've just had a great match. This crowd are loving it. Tony Khan, why aren't you using us? That was the challenge that was made to Tony Khan. Naturally, being there in person, I was able to do a little further digging. And from people backstage have told me over the course of questions that I've asked since and questions that I asked at the time, that the Revival, as they used to be known, FTR as they are now, are not happy in AEW at this point in time. They are laying out the challenge because they do not feel they've been booked well enough. They are not necessarily looking for great world-beating storylines. They are not necessarily looking to be featured every week, but they want to wrestle. They want the ability to go out there and put on showcase matches, not on YouTube, but on the actual main shows. They want to be on Dynamite. They want to be wrestling regularly. I did report about a month ago exclusively on this channel that there has been contact between FTR and Triple H. About 3 weeks later, it popped up behind the paywall of another wrestling journalist site. And they made money off a report that I made 3 weeks previously. I have had that confirmed by additional sources now, particularly those I've just been discussing at the New Japan show. FTR have been in contact with Triple H. They are not happy working at the moment in AEW, and they are exploring their options to get out of their contract and return under Triple H's helm to the WWE. If you are excited by that prospect, by the idea of FTR returning to the WWE, let me know in the chat, and let me know in the chat right now. My second piece of news before I get to that chat is as regards Sasha and Naomi. Now, there were rumours that a deal has been struck, and to my knowledge, a deal has been made. However, the individual details are still being ironed out. We saw recently Sasha Banks change her information on Twitter and other social media as regards the beginning of the Mercedes brand launch, something that I've exclusively been discussing here, but which you're going to be hearing a lot about in the weeks to come. Now, as regards Sasha Banks and Naomi, there are another couple of things that they are looking to negotiate and formalise before they are actively going to be looking to return to the WWE. A few details still being ironed out. The primary thing currently being discussed is part-time status. The idea is, particularly from Sasha Banks, when she does return, she doesn't want to be treated solely as a wrestler. She wants to be treated as a returning celebrity. She wants to be treated in the same light as your Logan Pauls, your Goldbergs, your Brock Lesnars. She wants to be treated like the top-level star that most of us have long since recognised that she is. This means main event matches, this means title reigns, but it also, even more importantly, means limited dates. This would allow Sasha Banks to work a more extensive filming schedule, to work more when it comes to modelling, but it's also quite similar to the situation where The Rock left the WWE the first time round to start filming and never truly came back again. We are in the end days of Sasha Banks' time in the WWE. She is still planning to return, to my knowledge, Naomi as well. However, when it comes to her actual return, we are looking at part-time, but we are looking at global spectacle level celebrity appearance, heavily protected. We are looking at a very different Sasha Banks upon her return. We have news on Brock and Roman, more on Extreme Rules, the arrival of Daniel Cormier, Logan and Jake Paul, so more on celebrities and their new variants in the WWE, and a little something on an NXT UK star, or a former NXT UK star, who was also in attendance at Royal Quest 2 this past weekend. Let's catch up, shall we? Spider-Boss says, your thoughts on Logan Paul as a wrestler? He has massively exceeded expectations. I really think he's got what it takes. It's just he needs to actually deliver on that now. Joey says, what will the plan be for Triple M with Max Dupree going back to LA Knight to continue as Triple M with Max Dupree instead of Max Dupree and Max Dupree? So instead of Max Dupree, they then added Max Dupree. So we're now going to lose Max Dupree and have just Max Dupree instead of Max Dupree and Max Dupree in charge of Maximum Male Models. Wrestler Fan says, will there be any more matches added to Extreme Rules? Very unlikely at this point in time. Very unlikely. Triple H is very happy with a 6-card match, 6-card show. He actually prefers 5, but 6 is what they've ended up with. We are very unlikely to see any additionals added. Venom says, do you think we are a while off Sasha's return? Nope, not at all. I think we are extremely close to Sasha's return, and there is nothing else I can really say at this point in time. Let's just say things may have happened recently that made Sasha Banks even more eager to return. Noob says, oh, that Charlotte Flair is a horrible person. You don't know her. Nope, sorry, I misread that, Noob. My apologies. Having read the rest, I jumped on you for a little bit there. I don't like the character, but the person behind is a very nice person. You are absolutely correct, Noob, and really undeserving of the level of vitriol that she's received. Venom says, do you think we'll get another match? Nope. Spider-Boss says, my condolences to Saraya, aka Paige, for the passing of her uncle. Indeed. That is what I was referring to earlier as regards Ricky Knight Jr. as well. Thank you. Venom says, I don't like Charlotte, but you can't deny how good she is. When you say you don't like Charlotte, I assume you mean the character. A lot of people don't like the character. She's a heel. You're not supposed to. Hey Vegeta, how you doing, mate? Sai says, if FTR go back, are they called FTR? They would likely be going back to the name The Revival. Joey says, does Andrade want out too, or is he trolling? He is trolling to my knowledge at this point in time. Just a good old-fashioned troll, and a lot of people are rising to that bait. Noob says, a lot of wrestlers in AEW are not happy with Tony Khan. I like a lot of wrestlers like FTR, Shida, Rio, and so many others need to be on TV instead of being on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation. As I've said, when I spoke to people about this, after what the Revival said at Royal Quest 2, where I was in attendance, I was told that there is a lot of unhappiness between FTR and Tony Khan at this point in time, and it was confirmed to me by exclusive report from about a month ago that FTR had already been contacted by Triple H. Spider-Boss says, what do you think about this version of Liv Morgan? I have no issues with this version of Liv Morgan. I just wish the fans would give her a shot. I don't think she's been booked particularly strong, but it's her first title reign. Nobody ever is. CM Punk's first title reign wasn't booked strong. Jericho's first title reign wasn't booked strong. Also wasn't very long. Venom says, what about AOP return? Still being discussed. Timothy says it's going to be awesome if they come back. I agree. That, for me, would fix the tag division like that. Matthew Johnson says, would love to see FTR back to WWE. Seems like it's closer than it was, I tell you. Daz agrees, says I think it will be good for WWE. Vegeta says FTR will definitely be back. One way or another, they will definitely work with Triple H again. James Stewart says, Revival versus DIY is fantastic. Wouldn't mind seeing that in the future. Sean says, I'm probably one of the few that wasn't a fan of FTR when they were in WWE. When they were in WWE main roster, there was a lot of reasons not to be fans, and I agree with that. However, when they're in NXT, very different element, and under Triple H, that is how they would be treated. Monique, welcome, says, hi Tom, happy Monday, and a happy Monday to you, Monique. Stewart says, FTR versus Usos would be interesting. Plenty of other potential matches too. FTR versus Street Profits immediately jumps out at me. FTR versus Street Profits for me. Ross says FTR back in the WWE would be fantastic. Triple H wants to relaunch the tag division. FTR will be a huge shot in the arm. That is indeed what they will be working on next. The tag division. Hector says, say yeah. Venom says, do you think we're not getting Sasha back full time? That is basically exactly what I've just said. Yes. Sean says, hi Tom, how was the New Japan show? Did you meet Jay White and get him to sign your Jay White shirt? I did not meet Jay White, unfortunately, who I did meet. I shook hands with Hiromu. I shook hands with Great-O-Khan, who was really the standout. There's a lot you don't see as regards Great-O-Khan. He's got a great future ahead of him. I had the most awkward fist bump in the world with Tomohiro Ishii. The most awkward fist bump in the world. I met the Revival very briefly, and I shook hands with Will Ospreay. Good time. There's one other name that I'll say that I ran into, but not just yet. Jay White, unfortunately, I did not get a chance to meet. Traffic says FTR versus Bloodline, FTR versus Imperium. FTR versus RK Bro when Randy's back. FTR versus Street Profits and more. Who couldn't be excited? Do I mention FTR versus Imperium? Spider-Boss suggests Sasha with a contract like Roman Reigns. Do it, Triple H. Joey says Sasha wants that Roman schedule. King Xander says good for Sasha. Get what you need and get that money. Matthew says I think you're right. These are the end days of Sasha in the WWE. Yes, so the end days of Sasha Banks. That was just the beginning of the Mercedes brand. Timothy says I don't know how I feel about that. Matthew Johnson says get all the coins. Sasha Mercedes. So a split feel on this one. A split feel. Sean says, I'm surprised WWE had Daniel be the ref for the fight pit, not Ken Shamrock or Steve Blackman. Ken Shamrock or Steve Blackman are big names by WWE standards. Daniel Cormier is a big name by worldwide standards. Ed says, I'm not sure Sasha has done enough to earn that level of part-time status. I think she'll get the deal regardless of that one, to be completely honest with you, mate. Matthew says, could LA Knight go back to Eli Drake, or does someone else have rights to the name? Someone else does have rights to the name. LA Knight is the most likely scenario. Impact own the rights to Eli Drake. Tom Talks Rubbish. How you doing, mate? Says, big love, Tom. Just a break from content creating this weekend for the first time since May. You are a busy man. Feel refreshed, looking to smash the rest of the year. Absolutely right, mate. Absolutely right. It's the complete right call at all times in that situation. If you need a break, have a break. Have a Kit Kat. Turnbuckle says, is this former NXT UK star going for a title soon? If they do sign to New Japan, they would be pretty much immediately in line for a championship. Yes, a brand new championship at that. Spider-Boss says, does the women's tag team title still a priority for Sasha? Yes, but not a priority that she gets them, just as they're booked well. Rizal says, I kind of feel like Sasha Banks was part-time before she left. She would take months off, then return, then take time off, so on. But she definitely wasn't treated like a top star celeb. She's looking for both of those things. Dad says, Tom, do you think Goldberg could come back? No. Thomas Phipps says, hi, Tom. Sorry I'm late. No worries, mate. Welcome. Venom says, does MJF actually want out? No, MJF wants to be treated seriously. It's that simple. He wants to be treated seriously by his employer. Spider-Boss says, I have a big respect for Charlotte. I think she's one of the best in WWE. She absolutely is. Will, how you doing, mate? Says, is the Andrade teasing AEW a work or something more to it? It is a work. Venom says, also wondering if you know if Tony is actually injured in his match with Wesley. I do not know that. No. Kervin, welcome. Says, AEW cannot book everybody. That's going to happen with WWE continuing to bring more talent back. Potentially, yes, but the Revival would definitely get a lot more chances than they'd have had in AEW. Joey says, do you have any info on Malachi? Is he still under contract with AEW or has he been released? He is claiming to still be under contract. He would know, after all, he's the one who would be under contract. So, Noob says, we got one member of the Four Horsewomen leaving while one member is back with a stable and the other two are coming back. I didn't say Sasha Banks was leaving. I, in fact, specifically said the opposite of that. Venom said they need to use Ciampa more. At the moment, he doesn't have a storyline. They do need to work on that one. Tom Talks Ruby suggests FTR versus KO and Sammy. That would be an incredible match. Incredible. David Leary says, would Jay White ever sign with WWE? Forever is a very, very long time. He has mentioned previously about people in WWE reaching out to him and suggesting that he should sign. And let's just say if he became available, the WWE would throw all of the money at him. All of the money. I've reported on this previously. Every single penny. Every single penny will go straight to him. Code says, will Naomi be full-time? I don't know. I don't have a source on that one. Michael says, hi, Tom. Hello, mate. Khalid says, hey, Tom. Hello, Khalid. Wrestler fan says, how likely could we see Bray Wyatt at Extreme Rules? Very, very, very unlikely. Very unlikely. Kieran says, yo, Kieran, how you doing? Raymond says, how much longer do FTR have in their AEW deal? I'm not sure. AEW does not release information like that more often than not. Richard said, all these potential WWE matches for FTR are mouth-watering. There's a lot of very good options. Barry says, hello everyone. Hello, Barry. Simon says, any news on Adam Cole's AEW TV return? No news at this point in time. Once he's fit, he'll return. Steve, welcome, mate. Says, hey, Tom. Great to catch your show live again after a week or two. How are you? How was your time at Royal Quest this past weekend and your favourite match of the weekend? The best match was undoubtedly FTR versus Aussie Open. I've not really seen much of Aussie Open before this, but they didn't just pull their weight. They did that and then some. There's some really tough guys. I don't know if you'll have seen it, but Dax was chopped so hard it actually cut his chest wide open. There was a lot of blood. Also, the guy he was attacking, I'm not sure of his name. I need to do more research. I do apologise. His shoulder was cut wide open. Again, by knife-edge chops. You know when you chop someone and their chest goes red? Well, how about chopping them and you take the entire layers of skin off and they're just bleeding everywhere? Brutal. It was a great show. Spider-Boss says, Sasha transitioning from WWE to Hollywood, kind of like The Rock. Yes. Kieran says, even though Sasha has held a title loads of times, she's never really had a great run that she should have got. I agree. However, that makes it a lot more difficult if she's going to be part-time and doing it. That said, works for Roman. Venom says, do you think LA Knight will return this Friday? Probably yes. Ghost says, FDR back in the WWE is just gold. How Tony Khan managed to drop this bag baffles me. They are not at all happy with how they're being used. Barry says, I might be wrong, but I think Eli Drake was Eli Drake before joining Impact. But Impact don't know the name to my knowledge. Tom says, I went to Manchester to meet William Regal with Inside the Ropes. I hope you had a great time, mate. Hope you had a great time. I've met and interviewed William Regal myself, and my God, that man had a lot of stories. Richard, it is not Jazzy Gabert. It is not Jazzy Gabert that I'm speaking of. It is, in fact, a different person who used to wrestle for NXT UK. Rocky says, are we going to get Cormier versus Brock at Crown Jewel? I mean, it makes sense. Brock saves Riddle, and we have Cormier versus Brock. I doubt Brock would ever save Riddle. They do not like each other. Like, there's a point at which you're connecting dots and the dots are over here. There is no connection whatsoever. It doesn't make sense at all what you've just said there. There are suggestions of Cormier versus Brock, mostly from Dave Meltzer. We'll see if they happen. I don't necessarily think that they will, but down the line, as I say, forever is a long time. Tom Talks Rubbish being extremely generous. A £10 donation. Says, just spreading the love. Show Tom Colohue some love. Thank you very kindly, Tom, for that super chat. If anyone does like to super chat, please do jump on in. Every donation goes back into the channel at this point in time, launching the business and occasionally getting me going to wrestling shows and having a great weekend. So thank you guys for everyone who's donated, everyone who watches ads, everyone who's a channel member. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so yet, please hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Simon says, did you get to meet our British UK hero Will Ospreay or even lucky enough to interview him or any of the Bullet Club? I met a couple of the different New Japan roster members, Hiromu, Tomohiro Ishii. I briefly met Revival and Great O'Khan. And yes, I shook hands with and briefly talked with Will Ospreay, but it was a very, very brief conversation. Basically, we passed in the hall. I offered to shake hands. He took it. That's all I do. I like it because he can just keep walking, and so can I. It's actually strangely memorable for a lot of wrestlers as well. Handshakes go a long, long way. Spider-Boss says, why Aaliyah hasn't been on TV lately? She's carrying a small injury. Rocky says, who do you think the White Rabbit is, Tom? I think they've suggested so hard that it's Bray Wyatt that it can't possibly be Bray Wyatt. Judging by the way that the messages come across, I still personally think there is a possibility of Mustafa Ali being involved on that one. Khalid, what you've put there definitely isn't true. I believe you've retracted it, but that's definitely not the case. KJ, how you doing, mate? Says, what's up, Tom? Glad you enjoyed your trip. Sorry you didn't get to meet your boy Jay White. I'd have loved it, but the moment did not come. Wardy says, FTR versus a bar would have been awesome. Shame it can't happen. Can't happen, no, but it would have been amazing. Thank you very much, Connor, for your 4th month of channel membership. as someone who's been around for quite a while now. Sorry, been around for a while now, mate. How you doing? And you've been very generous. Thank you kindly. James says, appreciate Banks but never been fussed about her, not in my current top 3 or even top 5. Raymond says, with the poor ticket sales and disgruntled employees, does AEW have a serious problem long term or can it be fixed? Such bad PR for a company right now. There is no such thing as an unfixable problem. No such thing as an unfixable problem. Hopefully they're able to do so, they just haven't got there yet. And thank you once again, Connor, for also renewing your subscription for a 14th month, saying well again on the Twitch side as well. A double dose of generosity. Thank you, mate. Really do appreciate it. Martin says, just wanted to say hi to you, Tom, and also wait, is Jake Paul going to show up on WWE programming? I'm not ready for that conversation. We do have more news on Daniel Cormier, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, more on Extreme Rules, and a former NXT UK star who showed up during Royal Quest 2. I don't know if it's a signing, I just want to be very clear on that one, but they were there and I want to talk about it. Money says, did you see that Naomi tagged Sami Zayn in her Instagram post? Yeah, I mean, she bloodline, what can I say? Venom says, I think Alba Fire could get involved in the ladder match to help Bayley. Certainly she has history of doing that. Simon asks your thoughts on Hangman Wardlow current booking on AEW TV. They need to use them more. They need to decide who their top stars are and then actually use them. There are too many people there and they're not getting enough actual focus. Noob says, we haven't seen Charlotte Flair versus Asuka since 2021, but the match has pretty much got fans upset about Asuka constantly losing to Charlotte like it's the end of the world. Yeah, Asuka was a terrible Raw Women's Champion. She just kept losing. Any match that she actually won, it was by accident or injury. Kelvin says, good to see the Shotzi tank back. Indeed. Wardy says, the Paul brothers as a tag team could make amazing heat. Cornette would love it as a tag team fan. It would definitely get amazing heat. And honestly, if Jake Paul's anywhere near as good as Logan Paul, they do well. They do very well. Of course, Jake Paul, not exactly a big wrestling guy. Spider-Boss says, watching soccer and spoiler warning, and I hope you're enjoying it, mate. Ghost says, Sasha working a part-time schedule doesn't seem too bad. What I slightly worry about, which is not Mercedes' fault, is how Naomi is treated if she goes back to being a solo competitor, since she has faded in the background in the past. I do see her going solo, not immediately, but I see her having the bloodline in her corner. KJ says, one of you guys mentioned how AEW can't book everyone, which is true, but why do they bring in outsiders every week instead of using who they've got, like you had Juice and Bandido last week? Which is true, and a very fair comment. They like to have variety, but it's actually working against them. Wrestler Fan says, is Fightful Select's report saying that the White Rabbit reveal will happen in Extreme Rules true? I do not know. I do not have access to that information. I don't know what their source is. I have not been able to confirm it. Traffic says, if you could pick just one who is the most over at the NJPW show. FTR definitely had the most love in the room. 100% FTR definitely had the most love in the room. After that, it was probably Zack Sabre Jr. Raymond says, any word on the Good Brothers and interest from WWE? Yes. No. Venom says, do you think Sheamus wins the IC title this Friday? I do not. Spider-Boss says, Sasha and Naomi's return getting more imminent as time goes. Yeah. Timothy, it is not Trent Seven. I promise you it is not Trent Seven. Simon says, Charlotte Rhea at Mania 36 was my favourite match on the card. It was a very, very good match, and they made it work because they were able to vocalise things and actually fill the space. Joey says, zero news, which is a bad start. Claims he has direct contact with a WWE wrestler about Kevin Dunn being released. I find it funny. Well, we still have seen no confirmation that Kevin Dunn has been released, so I think at this point we can treat that with a whole lot of doubt, as we come to Zero News, who hasn't just accepted that maybe they got that one wrong. Ross says, is there any other tag teams other than AOP and FTR WWE have their eyes on? Yes, but none that I personally know of. Jarrett says, hello Tom, hope all is well my friend, everything is very well, thank you. Wadi says, Tom, have you ever met either Adam Blampier? Yes. Simon Miller? No. Or the WrestleTalk guy, Ollie Davis? I've been into the WrestleTalk office in London. I was invited down February 2020 to talk about potentially working together. I still have the emails from Ollie Davis, essentially inviting me to pitch a few more options and work out what would eventually become Alex McCarthy's Wrestling Daily. Let's just say that certain people who have also worked at WrestleTalk decided to discourage them from working with me. And so instead, one of the people who was doing that ended up with a pretty good roll out of it and a pretty good pay packet. James says, Tom, you share so much, but what percentage of what you know are you just unable to share? Quite a bit. Quite a bit. There's a lot I don't say because either I just can't confirm it for sure, so I don't want to say it, or sometimes it's just not worth mentioning. Bailey says, you see Becky Lynch eventually becoming a part-time performer. Eventually is a very long time. Steve says, Steve Engelman, I should say, says, is Dax harder in person than on TV? Yes, he is. He's Spider-Boss says, Sasha working on a part-time schedule can work. Every time Sasha appears in WWE, it always works and fans love her. I agree. Sean says, I've seen a few say White Rabbit is Alexa Bliss or Sasha or Naomi. That is wishful thinking. Dad says, do you know who's next for the tag champions, Tom, on AEW and WWE? I do not. Ross says, is there any other tag teams? You've already read that one. Venom says, do you think Bray returns before WrestleMania? Yes. Yep, I said it. Jaden says, Tom, when do you personally think Sasha is returning? No comment. Austin says, late what I missed, also hearing DC versus Brock. That is entirely based on Dave Meltzer saying, oh, maybe they'll do a match between them two. It's not actually in any way reported. Joey says, apparently there is a wolf in the White Rabbit video. Could it be for Baron Corbin? It could be for about 15 different people. We know this. Richard says, I agree with Ali as White Rabbit. Thomas says, personally, I could see White Rabbit being a faction, leading to its true leader being a returning Bray at a later date. And I can see the likes of Ali and Dominic Dijakovic being involved in that faction. I've also mentioned the possibility that it will involve Karrion Kross and Judgment Day. Kieran says, Lesnar coming out to confront Cormier would be awesome, considering it didn't happen in the UFC. Michael says, did AEW sign Luigi Primo? I have no idea. Simon, I don't have any details on the actual contract itself. As I say, it is still in negotiation. Barry says, WWE really need to be careful how they handle the White Rabbit stuff if it's not Bray. The payoff needs to be good or could knock the shine off Triple H's leadership. Very true and a very fair comment. Will says, it's funny that all the members of the Way are on Raw. It's almost like you were telling us that for 3 months. Richard says, do you watch Impact? Nope, I don't have the time. Wardy says, keep the belt on Gunter for a long time, brought prestige back to the title. I hope after the Sheamus feud he has a meaningful feud, maybe with Drew. Gunter versus Drew McIntyre could be great. It could, and I do think that's likely, especially when you consider what happened with Survivor Series when Gunter last appeared. Tommy says, seems like WWE and AEW flipped. People are happy in WWE and aren't happy in AEW now. Yep, very true. Wardy says, Ollie Davis, that's him. Sorry to hear that. Yep, it's absolutely fine. I bear no ill will to Ollie Davis, none whatsoever. I in fact saw him at Royal Quest Night 2. He was there with quite a few of the WrestleTalk people, just enjoying the show, hopefully having a great time. I don't bear them any ill will whatsoever. I bear very much ill will to the people who were constantly complaining that, oh, you shouldn't use that, you shouldn't use him, you shouldn't use him, you should use me. Let's just say the people who financially benefited hugely from me not being involved. Steve says, if you could book a WWE versus New Japan Supercard, what matches would you make? First off, I'd have Roman Reigns versus Kazuchika Okada, because why not? But also I'd have Seth Rollins versus Jay White. And Chad Gable versus Zack Sabre Jr. No worries, Wardy. Say what you want. I mean, we're very open here. You don't get away with everything, naturally, but we're an open chat here, and this is just something that happens. Horsey, welcome, mate. Says, evening, Tom. My apologies for lateness. No need. I hope you're well. I'm very, very well, thank you. Venom says, fatal four-way match at WrestleMania between four horsewomen would be good, or if they teamed up together. Certainly anything involving the four horsewomen at once would get a lot of people talking. Noob says, Alex McCarthy is a huge gaming fan. I would not know. I have him blocked. Simon says, are AEW signing Juice and Bandido? Great question. No idea. Barry says, can you do the stuff you can say in mime? No. Wardy says, I hope Bray Wyatt comes back, not The Fiend. The Fiend is definitely something being discussed at this point in time. Carlos says, your opinion is that Bray Wyatt will come back into the WWE, but the White Rabbit isn't him. Yes, that is exactly what I said. That is exactly what I said, and have been saying for a number of weeks. Connor says, any further ideas on what the main event will be for Extreme Rules? Involving Cormier certainly changes things. Almost every match could now be a main event. Spider-Boss says, the White Rabbit better be Bray, because if it isn't, fans can turn on Triple H really quick. They could. Pardon me. They also may not. Austin says, sounded like Bray's voice in that package. It also apparently sounded exactly like Bray Wyatt in the Edge package when it was Edge and not Bray Wyatt at all. Hector says, Tom, did you have a chance to watch the interview of Seth Rollins from Ariel Helwani? Some interesting stuff, especially the Bray question. I'd give it a listen for sure. I did check out, particularly as regards the Bray question. Seth Rollins not happy, very openly so, about how that played out. KJ says, other than the women's tag titles, we haven't gotten a title change under Triple H. That moment will come. Sean says, was the former NXT UK star that appeared Mark Andrews or Flash Morgan Webster? Nope. Kieran says, will Candice and Johnny show Indy the way to Raw soon? Yep. Won't necessarily be them, though. I haven't seen the match, Simon. Couldn't speculate. Tommy says, how about AJ versus Jay White? Can't leave AJ out of that supercard. AJ Styles would not be wrestling Jay White. For me, AJ Styles would be wrestling Tetsuya Naito. Again, Simon, haven't watched that football match. I was in London. Richard says, Seth versus Jay, now that would be a banger of a match. Yes, it would. Timothy can already hear the promos. Noob says, Antonio Inoki passed away, and he said his final words on his YouTube. Antonio Inoki had a very touching tribute happen during the first night of Royal Quest. Tetsuya Naito and Kazuchika Okada, who were students of his, stood in the ring. The entire rest of the roster stood on the ramp and showed their respect. It was a touching 10-bell salute. Spider-Boss Seth is Roman's number 2. Billy says, how's the novel going? Thank you for asking. It's going very, very well. In the last month or so, I've written 3 chapters of it. So I'm in a very good place. And funnily enough, that means I'm writing a lot of good stuff as well. Very happy with it. Daz, I actually already have a WWE versus AEW Supercard card already built. I actually made one together with Ed Fries right here on this YouTube channel, so by all means check it out. Raymond says, I love the White Rabbit build. It's feeding on the impatience of the wrestling community. As an old school wrestling fan, takes me back to when we were forced to wait for results. James says, White Rabbit is something for Bray to go against. Again, you're assuming it's something to do with Bray. Nobody has actually said it's anything to do with Bray. Thomas says, for the first time in a while, I'm struggling to predict the matches on the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. I got everything at Clash of the Castle right. We'll see how it goes for Extreme Rules because I'm not so confident. Joey says, if Ronda wins the SmackDown Women's title, I hope Triple H has big plans for her. Otherwise, it'll be another lackluster title reign. If you watched the show on Friday, I said exactly what the plans were for Ronda Rousey. Horsey says, totally fan of Ali being White Rabbit. They seem to push Bray tease a lot Friday, so teasing is one thing, but Triple H may be teasing it too far. Spider-Boss says, Johnny Gargano and Candice and Dexter Lumis will show Theory the way. Turnbuckle Studio says, Randy Orton versus Murder Grandpa would be a banger in my books. Firstly, I like what you've done there. Can I go one further? Gunter. Minoru Suzuki versus Gunter. Go says, in my opinion, fans are going to eventually turn on Triple H regardless of how the White Rabbit reveal happens. I agree with that. We're still in the honeymoon phase as far as the Triple H era goes, but as we all know, all it takes is one unpopular decision for fans to turn their back on someone. Ghost, you are absolutely correct there. Completely agree. No, Barry, it is not a racing novel. It is a fantasy novel. Horsey says, it was the young lad behind Cole, which was the Bray tease the most for me. Austin says, I so hope we see Shayna Saturday. I agree. Completely agree there. Timothy says, ouch, my chest hurts thinking about that. And I believe we are on to more news. So, let's get this out of the way. The former NXT UK wrestler that was in attendance as a fan, not as a wrestler, at the Royal Quest 2 show, night 1 and night 2, was Nina Samuels. Now, once again, I cannot sit here and say that she has signed or that she hasn't signed. But what I will say is that there is now a women's champion in New Japan. And that means that they need to start building a division. They already have Jazzy Gabert. So it makes perfect sense to me that Nina Samuels would be there. After all, she has just been released by NXT UK. And she's looking for somewhere new to hang a hat. Japan would be the perfect place to do so. Nina Samuels was in attendance for Royal Quest. Clip that, send it out there, make it known. A little bit on Brock Lesnar's impending return. There are discussions about a return for Brock Lesnar for Survivor Series, potentially as a challenger for someone high up the card, like a Karrion Kross or a Drew McIntyre, but not necessarily for a championship or for a War Games. There is the potential that Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre may end up on the same team in a War Games match against the Bloodline. Brock Lesnar likely to return for Survivor Series, possibly for an individual match, but there is definitely a possibility that we are going to see him in War Games on the same team as Drew McIntyre against the Bloodline. Now, I've got to say, Lesnar in War Games, ooh, now we're talking. As regards Roman, he will of course be wrestling in Saudi Arabia. His next match after that will be Survivor Series. He's expected to be on basically every show between Saudi Arabia and Survivor Series, and then vanish again until closer to the Royal Rumble. One quick thing on Extreme Rules itself and the concepts as they're playing out right now. This is expected to be the new normal. Extreme Rules with extreme versions for every single match is expected to be the plan going forwards. We are not going to be seeing Extreme Rules where we only see one or two actual extreme matches. The plan is very much every match in an Extreme Rules pay-per-view from here on out will be some manner of extreme match. Turnbuckle Studio says, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Oh, I know, mate, I know. Spider-Boss says, I love this version of Ronda. Less talking and more Ronda ass kicker. This version of Ronda is definitely getting a lot more of a positive reception. Kieran says, are you a fan of reading books or just writing one? I both read and write. I have a collection of books just like down there. My favourite author is called Robin Hobb, though I'm also a John Ronald fan. We currently have 81 viewers and only the 42 likes. If you can, please remember to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. We are trying to reach 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. In order to do so, we need to be looking at just over 100 per month. Just over 100 per month. That's perfectly doable. We did that last month, and we did more than that the month before. In the build to Survivor Series, we should have additional boosts as well. But for now, pardon me, every like helps, every subscriber helps, and every comment helps. Halsey says, fans are fans and humans are impatient naturally a lot. We want everything yesterday. Very true. Raymond says, Tom mentions Gunter and turned into a giddy little schoolgirl. Love the passion. It's not just that, Raymond. I know not everyone here is a New Japan fan. I know I'm waxing lyrical about this, and I know maybe some of you aren't that interested in it. But New Japan wrestling is very different to WWE in a number of ways. There is a huge level of acceptance. Even just in the crowds, you will never see in WWE a crowd so close to evenly split between men and women. You will never find a place so accepting, so diverse, so flamboyant. Everyone at New Japan was over. Everyone got a chant. Everyone. It didn't matter if you were a good guy or a bad guy. It didn't matter if you were a big name or a small name. Everyone got a chant. Apart from Gallows and Anderson. Everyone had a chant. Obviously apart from them. That's how the crowds are there. You're part of something huge. And there's such diversity to the acts. Toru Yano wins matches by taping people to the outside barricades. If he was there, I know what he would have taped the opponent to, and it would have been glorious. He would have literally taped them to the beer stands. He would have. It would have been amazing. Etc, etc, etc. Murder Grandpa is just, you will never see anyone like him. Never. KJ says, my predictions for Extreme Rules would be Riddle, Bianca, Ronda, Edge. If Sheamus wins IC title, Imperium wins 6-man and vice versa. You have missed one. You have missed one. Kieran says, I've recently just finished Stephen King's Doctor Sleep. Ooh. Sama says, Shossie's much better as a babyface. Tom, do you agree? No, I think she is about equal on both because neither of them have really had much attention. Megan says, Suzuki versus Gunter is nice. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Gable would also be nice to see. I thought you'd like that as a concept. Noob says Kairi Sane is going after the WGP women's title as well. Kairi Hojo may indeed be doing so. Spiderboss says, Tom, if you were Triple H, would you give Sasha a part-time deal like the one that Roman has? Yeah. Kieran says, oh my god, Lesnar in a cage would be so fun to watch. Why, yes, it would. Simon says, any news on Saraya wrestling soon? Nope. Ed says, hey Tom, it seems we might need a New Japan versus WWE Super Show video. We may. Are you a regular follower of New Japan, sir? KJ says, after Edge is done with Judgment Day, who would you say is next for him on Raw? Nobody. I think he'll take a little break once again and then pop back up for the Royal Rumble. Steve says, any updates on Mia Yim? According to Fightful, a short-term deal with Impact Wrestling expires soon. I have no information on Mia Yim, unfortunately. Venom says, bit surprised we never saw the Shield lay out Brock. Brock wasn't involved with Roman when the Shield were active. Connor says, German suplex from one ring to the other. That is genuinely possible. Oof. Simon says, do you think Danielson wins Ring of Honor World title versus Y2J? Nope. Raymond says, the War Games match might not be able to hold Brock. Indeed, but it also might not be able to hold Roman. KJ says, do you think Roman will be in War Games or defending his titles? He'll be in War Games. Spiderboss says, Brock on War Games will be an Unleash Wrecking Ball. Indeed. Venom says, who do you think Roman Chains drops? Who do I think Roman Reigns drops the WWE title to? Cody Rhodes. Sean says, does Candice defeat Dakota tonight? Maybe. Thomas says, hi Tom, what one match type would you like to see return in the future? I like Hell in a Cell. I'd like more of it. Callie says, I'm glad that's how it should be. Not one, but all the matches should be extreme, and that is indeed the plan. King Xander says, has there been talk about who are the front runners for the Rumble matches? Yes, Becky and Cody. KJ says, Riddle and Rollins may have a third match in their feud, I think. What do you think the stipulation will be if there is one? At that point, I'm thinking we'll go Hell in a Cell. That sort of becomes Seth Rollins' trademark. The third match of the feud is Hell in a Cell. Spider-Boss says, good things happen to those who wait. That means when Sasha and Naomi return, it will be worthy. Barry says, if New Japan want to build a women's division, their working relationship with Impact could well be useful for them. It could, and likely will be. They also, let's not forget, have a working relationship with AEW, and they may book their women's division better than AEW do. Ghost says, since we only have 3 PLEs left, if you could have one more PLE to complete the calendar year, which PLE would it be? My vote would be Cyber Sunday or Armageddon. I'd go Judgment Day and I'd have it be the Judgment Day pay-per-view. I'd have it hover around Judgment Day. Venom says, do you think Charlotte returns as a face? No. No. Why? No. Sai says, excited to see Cormier in WWE. Great talker, huge wrestling fan. He and Brock is the only angle that UFC has ever shot in the cage, and maybe why Meltzer's guessing at a match. Would love to see it. I doubt they, if they do sign Cormier full time, I doubt they would throw away money like that. Got you, Ed. Dad says, who's your picks for the Rumble? Tomorrow, Legends, I mean. I'm not sure what you're asking there, Dad. Joey says, is AJ going to be feuding with Judgment Day now? He's going to be involved with Judgment Day. Feuding might be the wrong word. Stuart says, Tom, do you ever envisage seeing Zack Sabre Jr. in WWE would open up some great matches? More likely now than it has been in the past, particularly with a certain style of wrestler. However, to my knowledge, Zack Sabre Jr. and most of the people in New Japan are very, very happy there. Steve says, why has Shayna Baszler been absent from the last couple of SmackDowns? I wondered if this means the storyline with Ronda has gone quiet for now, or so fans forget, and she cost Ronda her match versus Liv. The latter is so the fans forget about her involvement. Ross says, I've not seen much New Japan. I'm interested in having a look at it. How best in the UK to watch it? Thanks. They have a version of their own, like WWE Network. New Japan, what do they call it? They called it something. There is a New Japan service that you can subscribe to, which gives you basically everything. And particularly around G1 time, it's worth every penny. Every penny. I would say wait until wait until some of the big shows. Wait until either Wrestle Kingdom from here, wait until Wrestle Kingdom for now, or after that wait for the New Japan Cup, Best of the Super Juniors, you've got the Tag League. The G1 for me is the one I never, ever miss. Kieran says, do you think New Japan will work with Stardom for their women's division? Yeah, they already are actively doing so. Quickly touching on that one, Ross, by the way, the 2020 G1 is very worth watching. So if you do sign up to their network service, you can go back and watch all of that. Venom says he wants the architect version of Seth back. Crazy Seth is old now. Disagrees, this is the best Seth Rollins has ever been. Wrestler fan says if the chaos that Brock causes in stipulation matches like Hell in a Cell, Last Man Standing or anything to go by, then we are in for a destructive treat in War Games. Indeed. That says, who's your pick for the legend at the Rumble? None. Triple H is not a big fan of involving too many legends. There'll be a couple. Probably going to end up being Diesel, let's be fair. Spider-Boss's early predictions are Ronda, Finn Balor, Rollins, Bayley, Cross. Again, you are missing one. Zandy says, this is the kind of things annoy. Why is Becky potentially winning the Rumble to get to Ronda who doesn't need to win? Why can't Sasha, Naomi or even Rhea win it? Once again, nobody has actually wrestled in the Royal Rumble for 2023 just yet, King Zandy. Those are the favourites right now. But when you talk about people who need to win it, Sasha Banks doesn't need to win it. There is no argument that you can make for Sasha Banks needing to win it that can't also be made for Becky Lynch. Sean says, has WWE ever had interest in Chris Cyborg or Holly Holm? Yes, and yes. Thomas says, we're surprised WWE didn't do a 3 stages of hell match for either Edge versus Balor or Drew versus Cross. That may or may not be the plan for Saudi Arabia and Riddle versus Seth. There'll be something else for Riddle versus Seth. Thank you, Ed, New Japan World. Appreciate that. Simon says, any news on when Roman is dropping the title? No. Steve says, do you have a favourite Extreme Rules pay-per-view? The next one. Simon says, any news on Lashley's next feud? Seth is still hovering around him. Ross says, brilliant, thanks, Tom. No worries. Steve says, any updates on Kota Ibushi? Not actively wrestling with New Japan at this point in time. I'd be upset if we don't see him at least at some point. Vegeta says, X-Pac said he wants to be in it to retire. Probably will be. Anyone who is close to Triple H will get their shot. Daz, no, the Messiah has moved on. Raymond says, I hope Diesel doesn't come back. Breathe on Kevin Nash wrong and he gets injured. Very true. Kieran says, no one needs to win the Rumble. It's just an easy way to main event someone quick. Agreed. Thank you, Steve, as well for the clarification. Michael says, will Elimination Chamber be in Saudi again? Most likely, yes. It is currently still under discussion, but they have blocked it in for around February. Barry says, I usually watch New Japan on Twitch with someone streaming with a phone pointing at a TV at a slightly off angle. I don't recommend that. I really don't. One last piece of news before we stop there, and that is as regards certain celebrities. Now, I've spoken previously about Triple H not being a lover of the whole Legends thing. He doesn't want a big return for Goldberg again. He doesn't want to see The Undertaker wrestle again. He wants people, when they've retired, to just retire. And he's definitely... He's had to deal with Ric Flair asking to come back, and he said no. So that's usually a sign of things to come. What he wants to do instead is work with a new generation of celebrities. Now, the celebrities currently on the list are Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, Pat McAfee, as we know, Daniel Cormier here. There was minor interest in a return for Cain Velasquez, but that left with Vince McMahon. Very little interest in that happening now. But I do have to mention Jake Paul is someone that the WWE are very interested in bringing in. He would briefly at least be in a tag team with Logan Paul, and they would be super heels. But this new generation of celebrities will be replacing the previous system, which was returning legends, getting the occasional match. We may see less of Trish Stratus as a sort of a consequence of this, but we will still have certain people popping up as they're able to wrestle. Jake Paul has people in the WWE interested in bringing him in. Logan Paul already signed, and Triple H is already actively negotiating a return for Bad Bunny, but he wants longer than just a Royal Rumble appearance. There has also been a discussion about a return for Shane McMahon. The discussion did not go well. Simon says, do you think the women's division needs an IC or US title, Tom? Nope. They've already got a mid-card championship. It's called the Tag Team Championships. If you can't book that well most of the time, you certainly shouldn't be adding championships to the show. Use the ones you've got. You won't need to. Sean says, do you think we'd ever get Bad Bunny versus Roman? Yes, that's more likely now. Joey says, I figured Triple H would want more pro wrestlers instead of celebrities. That's something Vince wanted. Triple H is a big fan of celebrities. Look at his use of Pat McAfee, for example. He just wants to make sure they get the right ones. The right ones. Thomas says, could you see WWE signing Kota Ibushi as Triple H was a big fan of him during the Cruiserweight Classic? There is interest. If Kota Ibushi becomes available, AEW will be bending over backwards to try and get him. So will the WWE. Kieran says, I think Kane attempted murder charge earlier this year. Probably stopped anything to do with him in the WWE as well. Yep, there's also that. No, Barry, absolutely not. And thank God. Ghost says, just hear me out. Gargano or Gable versus Ishimori. Oh. Ghost. Just be cool. Venom says, I want the Architect version of Seth, not the crazy Seth. I know that, but the Architect Seth is completely gone. Turnbuckle says, when talking about celebrities with female celebrities, would you like to see? There was a strong effort to bring in Cardi B. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hope they just have AOC pop in, but they'll never do that. Thomas says, just imagine Kota Ibushi versus Gunter. I'm okay. Joey says, I saw a report WWE also has interest in Bandito. Did you hear anything about that? Or is it just AEW? I have only heard what has been reported elsewhere by, I believe, Brian Alvarez. Haven't heard anything further on that one myself. Please remember to hit like if you haven't already and subscribe if you haven't already. I am going to wrap it up there. We've been going for an hour, and at this point there's a lot of dribble in my mouth for the potential options that we have. Connor says, praying Jojo Siwa doesn't end up in WWE. She was at a few events. She's not planning to wrestle. We are on 1,667 subscribers, which means in order to hit our target we need 333, which is a very, very nice number to have, but let's get rid of it anyway. Spider-Boss says, who's your favourite member of the Shield? Seth. I'm a Seth boy. I am wrapping it up there. Hope everyone enjoys Monday Night Raw. We'll be back on Friday for another spoiler warning. Please do clip and share any of this news if you would like to. But in the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue. You have been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.